All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling a big one. Can we actually shape reality with our thoughts?
Whoa, right off the bat with a huge question.
Well, we've got 3 books that I think can help us figure this out, at least a little bit.
Okay, lay it on me.
Deepak Chopra's Synchrodestiny, Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural, and Brian Tracy's Believe It to Achieve It.
Okay, yeah, these authors are really well known in this field.
They each bring something different, but I think they all kind of point to a similar idea that our thoughts are powerful.
Right, yeah, like mind over matter kind of thing.
Exactly. So let's start with Deepak Chopra and Synchrodestiny. Chopra has been exploring this mind-body connection for decades.
Yeah, he's a big name.
Huge. In Synchrodestiny, he dives into something he calls meaningful coincidences, or synchronicities.
So like when weird things happen and you're like, is this a sign?
Yeah. But he takes it a step further and says these coincidences aren't random.
So they're like messages from the universe or something.
He argues that they're meaningful patterns, often connected to our intentions and desires.
Okay, that's interesting.
I know, right? And he even gives some crazy examples in the book.
Oh, I love a good story. Like what?
Well, one that stood out to me was this guy who kept seeing this little ad in the newspaper.
Okay. For what?
It was for medical practice in India.
So random.
Right. And he kept dismissing it, but he was feeling super stuck in his career at the time.
Ah, I see. So it was like calling to him.
Totally. And eventually he gave in and reached out to the practice and ended up moving to India and starting this whole new chapter in his life.
No way. So he followed the sign and it worked out for him.
It's wild, right? But it makes you wonder if we're all missing these little clues from the universe.
Or maybe we're just not paying attention.
Right. Chopra would say it's about being more aware and noticing those synchronicities.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Me too.
Yeah.
But how does this whole synchrodestiny thing actually work? Like, what's the mechanism behind it?
Well, Chopra draws a lot of parallels to quantum physics.
Quantum physics. That's a little over my head.
Yeah, it could be a bit mind-bending. But basically, it's this idea that everything is interconnected at a deeper level.
Okay, I've heard of that before, like the butterfly effect.
Kind of. But it's even more profound than that. Chopra talks about a non-local domain, which is like this realm of pure potentiality.
Okay, you're losing me a little.
Okay, so imagine a place where everything is possible, where our thoughts and intentions actually have the power to influence reality.
Whoa, okay, I'm starting to see where this is going.
It's kind of like the Matrix.
Maybe. So you're saying that by tapping into this non-local domain, we can actually shape our reality.
That's Chopra's argument. And he says one way to access this realm is through synchronicities.
So those coincidences are like little doorways into this other dimension.
Maybe. But he also talks about things like meditation and intention setting as ways to increase our awareness and become more receptive to those synchronicities.
This is really making me think differently about how I view the world.
It's definitely a paradigm shift.
Totally. So let's say I'm thinking about calling a friend, and then they call me out of the blue. Is that synchrodestiny, or am I just reading too much into things?
That's a good question. Chopra would probably say it's worth paying attention to those moments and seeing if there's a pattern emerging.
Okay, so maybe I should start a coincidence journal or something.
Maybe. It's really about noticing those whispers from the universe and seeing how they might be guiding you.
I'm down to try it. But how do we go beyond just noticing synchronicities? Can we actually use this synchrodestiny concept to, manifest our desires?
Now that's the million-dollar question. Chopra offers some pretty cool techniques for working with intention.
Like what?
Well, one thing he talks about is working with archetypes.
Archetypes. Okay, now you're really testing my vocabulary.
Okay, so think about those universal characters that appear in myths and stories across cultures, like the hero, the sage, or the rebel.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with those.
Right. Chopra believes these archetypes represent different aspects of the human experience, and that we can tap into their energy to help us manifest our desires.
So, if I want to be more courageous, I could, meditate on the hero archetype.
Exactly. Chopra suggests doing visualization exercises where you journey into your inner world and encounter these archetypes.
Whoa, that sounds pretty intense.
It can be powerful.
Yeah.
But he also talks about more grounded things like mantras and sutras.
Mantras, like those chants you hear in yoga class.
Yeah. Chopra believes that by using mantras and sutras, we can influence the energy and information in the quantum field.
Okay, so we're back to quantum physics.
Uh-huh. Well, it all kind of ties together.
My brain is definitely doing some gymnastics right now.
Mine too. But I think that's a good thing. It means we're expanding our awareness and opening ourselves up to new possibilities.
I love that. It's like we're stretching our mental muscles.
And the more we stretch, the more flexible we become.
So flexibility is key to synchrodestiny.
Maybe. But Chopra also emphasizes the importance of surrender.
Surrender, like giving up.
Not exactly. It's more about trusting the process and letting go of the need to control every outcome.
That's a tough one for me. I like to be in control.
I hear you. But Chopra believes that the more we surrender to the unknown, the more miracles we'll experience.
Miracles. Now that's something I definitely want to explore further, but I think we need to take a break from Chopra's mystical world for a minute and ground ourselves in some science.
Sounds like a good plan. Where are we headed next?
Well, let's see what Joe Dispenza has to say about creating miracles and becoming supernatural.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Me too. Dispenza takes a more scientific approach to this whole idea of shaping reality with our thoughts.
So, less mysticism, more hard facts.
Well, he blends both, actually. He's a neuroscientist and a chiropractor.
Interesting combo.
I know, right? And in Becoming Supernatural, he dives into how we can access a realm beyond space and time, which he calls the quantum field.
Whoa, okay, we're back in the quantum realm.
We are. But Dispenza brings in a lot of scientific research to back up his claims.
Well, that's good. I need some evidence to go with these wild ideas.
Me too. And he actually provides a lot of it.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So Dispenza believes we can access this quantum field through deep meditation.
So it's not like a physical place we go to?
No, it's more about shifting our internal state of being.
Okay, I can kind of grasp that.
He talks about becoming nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time.
Whoa, that's a mouthful.
I know, right? But it's this idea of transcending our limited sense of self and merging with something greater.
Okay, starting to get a little woo-woo again.
Haha, maybe. But Dispenza is very specific about the brainwave states and physiological changes that occur during these deep meditative states.
Oh, so there's some actual science behind it.
Definitely. And he shares some really remarkable stories of people who have healed themselves from chronic illnesses, manifested their dream jobs, and even experienced profound spiritual awakenings.
All through meditation.
He believes it's all about tapping into this field of pure potentiality.
That's wild, but also incredibly inspiring.
I know, right? It makes you wonder what's truly possible if we can tap into this power.
But I have to admit, it also feels a bit overwhelming.
Me too. Like, where do I even begin?
Well, Dispenza emphasizes the importance of taking small steps and being patient with ourselves.
So start small and build up from there.
Exactly. He encourages us to start by incorporating short meditation practices into our daily routines.
Okay, that feels doable.
It's about building that foundation of inner peace and awareness.
And from there, we can start exploring those deeper states of consciousness.
That makes sense. Baby steps.
Baby steps. But before we get too lost in the quantum field, I think it's time to bring things back down to earth.
Okay, I'm ready for some practicality.
Me too. Let's see what Brian Tracy has to say about the power of belief in his book, Believe It to Achieve It.
Brian Tracy, the king of practical advice.
Exactly. He's all about giving us actionable steps we can use right now to create the life we want.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So Tracy starts with a really simple premise. You become what you think about most of the time.
Okay, I can get behind that. Thoughts become things.
That's the idea. And he breaks it down even further by saying, our dominant thoughts actually shape our reality.
So if I'm constantly thinking negative thoughts, I'm going to attract negative experiences.
That's what Tracy argues. It's like our minds are broadcasting signals and the universe is responding to those signals.
Okay, so I need to be careful what I'm putting out there.
Totally. But that's easier said than done, right? Like, how do we control those thoughts? Especially when the negative ones seem to take over.
Right. They can be so loud sometimes.
It's like a broken record in my head.
I feel that.
Well, Tracy suggests becoming a detective of our own thoughts.
I'm detective. That's an interesting analogy.
I know, right? But basically, he says the first step is to become aware of the thoughts we're thinking, especially the negative ones.
So pay attention to that inner critic.
Exactly. Once we're aware of those negative thoughts, we can start to challenge them and see if they're actually true.
So it's like putting those thoughts on trial.
I love that. And if they're not serving us, we can choose to replace them with more positive, empowering thoughts.
That makes sense. But what if those negative thoughts are really deeply rooted, like from past experiences or traumas?
Tracy addresses that too. He talks about the importance of forgiveness.
Forgiveness. as in forgiving others.
Yes, but also forgiving ourselves.
I think that's even harder sometimes.
I agree. But Tracy says holding on to anger, resentment, and guilt is like carrying around a heavy backpack full of rocks.
It weighs us down.
Exactly. And it prevents us from moving forward.
Okay, so forgiveness is like setting down that backpack and freeing ourselves up.
It's a powerful image, right? But what about when those negative thoughts are about ourselves? You know, those feelings of not being good enough or worthy.
Ugh, those are the worst.
I know. But Tracy says we need to shift from a blame mentality to one of empowerment.
So take responsibility for our own lives.
Yes. He talks about this idea of locus of control.
Locus of control, that's a new one.
Basically, it's a belief about whether we're in control of our lives or whether external factors determine our fate.
So people with an internal locus of control believe they have the power to create their own reality.
Exactly. And those with an external locus of control feel like they're victims of circumstance.
Okay, I definitely want to cultivate more of an internal locus of control.
Me too. And Tracy gives some great advice on how to do that.
Like what?
Well, he's a big believer in setting clear goals.
Oh yeah, goals are important.
He says that when we clearly define our goals and break them down into manageable steps, we literally activate the success mechanism in our brains.
So it's like giving our minds a roadmap to follow.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Right. But what about when we feel stuck or incompetent in certain areas? Does Tracy just tell us to push through those feelings?
You know, it's interesting. He actually encourages us to focus on our strengths and delegate tasks that drain our energy or that we're not naturally good at.
That's such a relief. I can't be good at everything.
Me neither. And he says it's okay to ask for help and build a team of people who complement our weaknesses.
So work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Play to your strengths and find people who can help you with the rest.
I love that. It takes the pressure off trying to do it all ourselves.
Totally. And Tracy also emphasizes the importance of continuous learning.
Always be growing.
Yep. He encourages us to invest in our personal and professional development.
It's like we're always a work in progress.
And that's a good thing.
I agree. It keeps things interesting.
It does. But Tracy also reminds us that it's not all about achieving material success.
So there's more to life than just money and accomplishments.
He believes that true fulfillment comes from living a life of purpose and meaning.
So making a difference in the world.
Exactly. He encourages us to find ways to use our unique talents and gifts to serve others.
This reminds me of Chopra's ideas about interconnectedness.
There's definitely a connection there.
When we focus on giving back, we create a ripple effect that goes far beyond ourselves.
It's like we're all part of this giant web of energy and consciousness.
And our actions, both big and small, have an impact on the whole.
Exactly. So it's important to be mindful of the energy we're putting out into the world.
This is getting pretty deep, but I'm loving this conversation.
Me too. It's so inspiring to think about the power we have to create positive change.
I agree. And I think Tracy would remind us that it's not all about grand gestures and heroic acts.
So what is it about?
He emphasizes the importance of those small, everyday acts of kindness and compassion.
Like smiling at a stranger or holding the door open for someone.
Exactly. Those little things can make a big difference.
I think we underestimate the power of those simple gestures.
Me too. But they really can brighten someone's day.
And who knows, maybe those small acts of kindness will create a ripple effect that leads to something even bigger and better.
That's a beautiful thought.
It reminds me of something else Tracy talks about, embracing change.
Oh, yeah, change is a constant.
It is. And Tracy encourages us to view change as an opportunity for growth.
So instead of resisting change, we should welcome it.
He even suggests using the phrase, "I see the angel of God in every change," to help shift our perspective.
Oh, that's powerful.
It is, right? It's about looking for the good in every situation, even the challenging ones.
It's like finding the silver lining.
Exactly. And Tracy believes that when we embrace change, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and opportunities.
So instead of feeling the unknown, we should be excited about what it might hold.
I love that reframe.
Me too. It's so much more empowering.
It is. And it's a great reminder that we're not alone on this journey.
There are people who have walked this path before us.
And they've left behind breadcrumbs to guide us.
It's like we're all part of this giant human experiment trying to figure out how to live our best lives.
And we can learn from each other's experiences.
And support each other along the way.
Exactly. We're all in this together.
That's a comforting thought.
It is. And I think it's a perfect place to pause for now.
I agree. My brain is definitely full.
Mine too. But in a good way.
Definitely in a good way. We've covered so much ground today, from synchrodestiny to the quantum field to the power of belief.
It's been a whirlwind tour of the mind's potential.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that we have more power than we realize.
We really do. We have the power to shape our reality, to create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling.
And it all starts with our thoughts.
Thoughts become things.
That's the truth. But I think we'll leave it there for now and pick up this conversation next time.
Sounds like a plan. I'm already looking forward to diving deeper into these ideas.
I too. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the power of belief and the nature of reality.
And we can't wait to explore even more with you next time.
Until then, keep those minds open and those hearts full.
And keep believing in the power of possibility.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're stepping back from that cosmic level for a sec.
Back down to earth.
Yeah, and looking at how our beliefs shape our everyday lives. This is where Brian Tracy comes in.
With Believe It to Achieve It.
Exactly. And you know, Tracy's like the king of practical advice.
Oh yeah, he's all about giving you actionable steps.
That's what I love about him.
Yeah.
So he starts with this really simple idea.
Let's hear it.
You become what you think about most of the time.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like if you're always thinking negative thoughts.
You're going to attract negative experiences.
Right. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Totally. But Tracy takes it a step further and says our dominant thoughts actually shape our reality.
Whoa. Okay, so it's not just attracting things. It's like we're creating them with our minds.
That's what he argues. It's like our minds are constantly broadcasting and the universe is responding.
That's a pretty powerful concept.
It is. But it also puts a lot of responsibility on us.
Right, because if we're creating our reality with our thoughts, then we better be thinking good thoughts.
Exactly. But you know, sometimes those negative thoughts just creep in.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
It's like they have a mind of their own.
A very loud mind sometimes.
Ugh, it's the worst. So how do we deal with that?
Well, Tracy has some great advice for that too.
Say it on me.
He calls it the law of substitution.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically replacing negative thoughts with positive ones.
So like thought replacement therapy.
Kind of. But it's more about consciously choosing to focus on thoughts that empower us.
So instead of dwelling on what's wrong, we shift our attention to what's right.
Exactly. It's like rewiring our brains for success and happiness.
I love that. But you know, sometimes those negative thoughts are tied to past experiences.
Oh yeah, those can be tough to shake.
Like things that we're still holding on to anger or resentment about.
Or guilt.
Yes, guilt too. Does Tracy address that?
He does. He talks about how holding on to those negative emotions from the past can really sabotage our well-being.
It's like we're dragging all that baggage around with us.
He says it's like carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks.
Ugh, I can feel that weighing me down just thinking about it.
Right. And it prevents us from moving forward.
So what's the solution?
Tracy's big on forgiveness.
Forgiveness. As in forgiving the people who hurt us.
Yes, but also forgiving ourselves.
That one's always harder for me.
I think it's harder for a lot of people.
But Tracy says it's essential for letting go of the past and creating a brighter future.
He even suggests writing a letter to the person you need to forgive.
Even if you never send it.
Exactly. It's about releasing that pent-up energy and freeing yourself from those negative emotions.
Okay, that's a really powerful visualization. I can see how that would be helpful.
I think so too. But what about when those negative thoughts aren't directed at other people, but at ourselves?
Like when we tell ourselves we're not good enough or not worthy.
Ugh, those thoughts are the worst.
They can be so debilitating.
And they can really hold us back from achieving our full potential.
So what's Tracy's advice for dealing with those kinds of thoughts?
Well, he says it starts with taking responsibility for our lives.
So instead of blaming others or circumstances,
we own our choices and our actions.
That's a big shift for a lot of people.
It is. But Tracy believes it's essential for creating a life of purpose and meaning.
It's about moving from a victim mentality to one of empowerment.
Exactly. And he talks about this concept called locus of control.
Locus of control.
Yeah, it's basically a belief about whether we believe we're in control of our lives or whether external factors determine our fate.
So people with an internal locus of control believe they have the power to shape their destiny.
And people with an external locus of control feel like they're at the mercy of fate or other people.
Okay, so Tracy's obviously advocating for cultivating an internal locus of control.
Absolutely. He says it's crucial for success and happiness.
It makes sense. If you believe you have the power to change things, you're more likely to take action.
And that action is what creates results.
So how do we develop that internal locus of control?
Well, Tracy's all about setting clear goals.
Goals, goals, goals.
He believes that when we set goals and take consistent action towards them, we're sending a message to our brains that we're in the driver's seat.
So we're training our minds to focus on what we want.
Exactly. And he says it's important to break those goals down into smaller steps.
So it doesn't feel so overwhelming.
Right. Because when we see ourselves making progress, we're more likely to stay motivated.
That makes sense. But what about those areas where we just feel stuck or incompetent?
You know, it's interesting. Tracy actually encourages us to focus on our strengths.
So instead of trying to be good at everything,
We lean into what we're naturally good at.
that takes the pressure off.
It does. And he says it's okay to delegate tasks that drain our energy or that we're not naturally good at.
So basically, build a team of people who complement our weaknesses
Exactly. It's about working smarter, not harder.
and leveraging our unique talents.
Love it. It's like creating a dream team for our lives.
I'm all about that. So we've got forgiveness goal setting, focusing on our strengths.
Right.
What else does Tracy have up his sleeve?
Well, he's also a big believer in continuous learning.
Always be growing.
Yep. He encourages us to invest in ourselves by acquiring new knowledge and skills.
It's like we're always students.
And the world is our classroom.
That's a cool way to look at it, but it's not all about personal development, right?
No, Tracy also emphasizes the importance of building strong relationships and making a positive contribution to the world.
So it's not just about achieving success for ourselves.
It's about using that success to make a difference.
That's where the real fulfillment comes in.
Exactly. And he offers some great practical tips for strengthening our relationships.
Like what?
Things like active listening, expressing appreciation, and making others feel important.
Those are all so important, but sometimes we forget to do those simple things.
It's easy to get caught up in our own busy lives.
I know. I'm definitely guilty of that sometimes.
Me too. But Tracy reminds us that those small acts of kindness can have a huge impact on the people around us.
And it creates a more positive and loving world for everyone.
Exactly. But let's be real, isn't always easy.
There are always going to be challenges.
And sometimes those challenges can really throw us off course.
So how does Tracy suggest we deal with those inevitable ups and downs?
He has a really great perspective on change. He encourages us to embrace it.
Embrace change. That's easier said than done.
I know it can be tough, but he says it's about shifting our perspective.
So instead of seeing change as something negative,
We see it as an opportunity for growth.
that's a powerful reframe.
It is. And he even suggests using this phrase, I see the angel of God in every change.
Whoa, okay, that's pretty intense.
But it's about finding the good in every situation.
Even the challenging ones.
Exactly. Because even when things are tough, there's always something to learn or gain from the experience.
So it's about trusting that there's a bigger plan at play.
And that even the difficult times are leading us somewhere better.
That's a comforting thought. I need to remember that.
Me too. But you know what's amazing about all of this?
What's that?
It's that we have the power to choose how we respond to those challenges.
So we're not just victims of circumstance.
Exactly. We have agency. We can choose to see the good. We can choose to learn and grow. We can choose to create a better reality for ourselves.
That's so empowering.
It is. And it's a great reminder that we're not alone on this journey.
We have each other. We have these incredible teachers and authors like Chopra Dispenza and Tracy.
And we have the power within ourselves to create the life we truly desire.
That's a beautiful message. I think we should leave it there for now.
I agree. My mind is officially full.
Mine too. But in a good way, I'm feeling so inspired and motivated to put all of this into practice.
Me too. It's time to take action.
To our listeners, we hope you're feeling just as fired up as we are.
And we can't wait to share more with you next time.
Okay, we're back, and my mind is still buzzing from all this talk about shaping reality.
I know, right? It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's also incredibly exciting.
So where do we go from here?
That's the big question, right? We've explored all these different perspectives, from Chopra's mystical approach to Dispenza's scientific insights to Tracy's practical strategies.
And they all point to the same conclusion, that we have the power to create our own reality.
It's a huge responsibility, but also an incredible gift.
So how do we actually make this happen? How do we go from theory to practice?
That's what I want to unpack in this final part. It's one thing to read about these concepts, but it's another thing entirely to actually live them.
So where do we even begin?
I think it starts with awareness, becoming more aware of our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions.
It's like paying attention to that inner dialogue that's constantly running in our heads.
Exactly. And noticing the patterns, those thought loops that might be holding us back.
So become a detective of your own mind.
I love that. Put those thoughts on trial, see if they're actually serving you.
And if they're not,
Then we have the power to choose different thoughts.
that's where the law of substitution comes in, right?
Exactly. Replacing those negative, disempowering thoughts with ones that support the reality we want to create.
It's like upgrading our mental software.
From a limited version to one with infinite possibilities.
I love that analogy. But it's not just about changing our thoughts, right? There are other things we can do to support this transformation.
Oh, absolutely. Things like meditation, visualization, gratitude practices.
Those are all so powerful for cultivating inner peace and raising our vibration.
It's like we're training our minds to focus on the positive, to see the world through a lens of possibility and abundance.
And don't forget about taking action,
Oh, yeah. Brian Tracy was all about that.
setting clear goals, and then taking consistent steps to achieve them.
It's not enough to just wish and hope. We have to actually do something.
Put in the work. Make it happen.
But remember, it's not about striving or pushing ourselves to the limit.
It's about finding that sweet spot between effort and ease,
Aligning our actions with our intentions.
and trusting that the universe has our back.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
And remember, change is inevitable.
It's the one constant in life.
So instead of resisting it, embrace it,
See it as an opportunity for growth.
even when it feels scary or uncomfortable.
Those challenges are often what help us to become stronger and wiser.
And remember, you don't have to go it alone.
We have each other to lean on.
Our friends, family, mentors, communities.
We're all in this together.
And by supporting each other.
We can create a more loving and compassionate world for everyone.
So if we were to distill all of this into one key takeaway,
What would it be?
I think it's this. We are powerful creators with the ability to shape our reality and create a life that is truly meaningful and fulfilling.
That's a beautiful message.
And it's a call to action,
To step into our power.
to embrace the unknown, and to create a life that is both extraordinary and joyful.
Wow. I'm feeling so inspired right now.
Me too. And I hope our listeners are feeling it too.
This has been such an incredible journey.
Exploring the depths of human potential.
And the power of belief.
We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive,
And we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas.
to keep experimenting and discovering what works for you.
Because the journey doesn't end here.
This is just the beginning.
And the possibilities are truly limitless.
So keep those minds open and those hearts full.
And keep believing in the power of possibility.
Until next time.